welcome back to Lola AnnaBelle, and this is the second video in this nice little series. Today we're going to do a little deep dive into the, I'm going to say this wrong, Aitvaras. It's a Lithuanian dragon. This is probably, now that I'm saying this out loud, probably one of the worst ideas I've had. Doing something I cannot pronounce or roll off my tongue. Hang in here with me, guys. I promise this is cool. I find them very interesting, and I like this kind of stuff, and I like to know where things come from and evolve and different cultures. So it's plural is the Aitvaras. Probably gonna be on the screen somewhere. And the alternative is Davikas, meaning house spirit, or Pukas, meaning dragon or torkite. So it's a great serpent, and it's in the Lithuanian Latin mythology, Latvian myth, Prussian, and Baltic mythology. So let's just get into the basics. Let's get into the Aitvaras. They are found in the mythologies in the Baltic regions, and they are supernatural luck bringers. As much as they are supernatural luck bringers, they are also tricksters. It's kind of like, what's that? Do they like you or do they hate you? It's pretty much how you'll view them. They are household spirits and guardians, or they can protect one person. And so, also, cool fact, it only comes up once. So if the albatross is injured, all it needs to do is touch the earth. Although, I'm wondering if, we'll get into this, it takes many forms, and a lot of them are household animals, which, don't float in the air. So I'm wondering if it's like instantaneous, healed because it's touching the earth, or it needs to go somewhere, touch grass or a tree to heal itself. It's an enigmatic and curious being. I was probably say human, they're not human. And can take many forms depending on its environment. So, for instance, and I also found that it likes taking form of black. So, cats, roosters, cockerel, If you ever watch Good Mythical Morning, they're mythical beasts that's there in the morning. The chicken, dragon, hybrid, found in mythology. It could take up, when it's outdoors, a crow, a dragon, or I'm not really sure, flying serpent with a fiery tail. So if it's a serpent, it has the head of a Zaltes, and I looked this up for the description. Think of a garden snake. And these creatures are, like a gray or a dark gray if they're kind of out in the wild, but if they're near home, they're green. And they're a lucky grass snake. So they are powerful creatures that roam the wild, forest and stuff, but can be enticed to be a household guardian. So these creatures can bring in happiness, wealth, and it just says abundance. So I imagine anything in abundance and favor. So if they favor you, in favor of, and so they'll bring grain, milk, it says dairy products, money, and I don't know why. So I wrote down money or coins. I'm not sure what the exact difference of that is. Corn, and in some case gold. And we'll get into this. Before Christianity, they're viewed as semi-divine creatures. So the interesting thing about these creatures, so they're great regulators, and so think of Robin Hood. So if one person, so they regulate communities for moral and make sure greed was in check. So if one person had too much wealth, it would take away. So it's our Robin Hood of dragons. But it can turn on you if if you create distress with it. Like, I don't know, forget to feed it or you injure it, it can easily turn on you by taking away wealth, burning down your house, etc., etc. So, knowing this, people that have these guardian spirits in their house, they just, you gotta be careful not to harm it or insult it. They don't have, They don't have a regiment moral code. So it will retaliate and so it will, lies to that person or an itch that just can't cure. Or, it will destroy the household treasure or even, like I said, burn down the house. See, these spirits, you gotta take the good with the good and the bad with the bad. Just be nice to them. That's pretty much what it says. If you aren't, bad things happen to you. So, like I said, I was talking about how the views shifted once Christianity came into the Baltic regions. Oh, Christianity. Okay. Once, guardian spirits that modulated wealth and luxuries, it turned into a wild beast that would bring wealth, but by ill means. So, you would get it, but it wouldn't be in the, best way. So the Aitvaras were crafty trickers, and they would augment, wealth for their masters by any means possible. Essentially, like I said, you're going to be selling your soul to the devil once Christianity came around. And it says especially at the expense of your neighbors. They became symbols of greed and uncontrolled ambition. So this negative perception was, they were seen to serve the devil himself. So if you wanted, in the world of Christianity, if you wanted one of these, you had to give up your soul to the devil. And if you were suspected of having one, you were seen as a servant to the devil himself. This comes up a lot. And I'm sure back then, omelets aren't what we think of omelets today. As a lot of things. But these creatures in both before Christianity and after Christianity, they loved omelets. So people would leave omelets for these guys so they wouldn't be attacked by them. So, like many of these ancient dragons, spirits, they're shapeshifters, and I told you what they like to shape. So since they're able to, a person might accidentally bring one of these animals into their home, and once they're in there, this is post-Christianity, it was impossible to get rid of. The habitat of. So they are nature spirits, and they roam the wild unless someone entices them to come protect them and their family. They like heavily wooded forests. So I don't know what happens. They have the ability to fly, so that inspired the idea of them living in the sky also. An important thing to note, so if they were if they were guardians of a certain household. They were never tamed. Okay, you're going to see this has jumped because I wasn't paying attention to how much time I left on my camera. My camera only records like 20 minutes at a time. So, yeah. I got through half of this without realizing that my camera stopped recording. I looked it up. So, they're never tamed creatures, even though they'll attach themselves to households and be their guardian spirits. They're very territorial beings, and so you'll never see more than one per household. So, and when they live there, when they're in households, they will live between the stove to roost, or near the large stove or oven, which I'm sure back then was probably a wonderful place to sleep. Nice and warm. I'm going to have to say this every time I talk about this, since I take the form of a black cat. I imagine my cat. Maybe my cat's an Aitvaras. Question. Would you like me to go into the luck in the black cat? Let me know. That might be a fun video. Okay. So people, they would stay there as long as people brought them steady food and kept them warm. Give them a warm place to stay. We are going to get into some unusual territory. So, the reproductions of these guys are unusual, to say the very least. Okay, so you would need a 7-year-old cockerel or a rooster, and they must lay an egg. Once again, they say rooster, not chicken, so male bird. That's what I think they meant. And they have to be kept under the armpit until the albatross emerges, not born, emerges from the egg. It can keep under or against the bull's testicle, which, okay, these creatures are made up, right? Made up. Someone had to come up with this, but why? Like why? It's just so crazy. Alright. So whoever's so they can either be brought in from the wild, or if a family acquires said albatross egg, it would just roost in the family's home, hopefully forever, and it would live off the family's leftovers, and it loved omelets. Now, in Christianity times, if you wanted an egg, you'd have to sell your soul to your part. Pre-Christianity, these beings were seen as regulators of humanity, like wealth, and kind of having people in check. Some Lithuanian mythology states that these are goblins, and they will plunder those who they did not like. Let's talk about albatrosses and Christianity. So they are immortal creatures by infernal means, and they're seen as the devil has all control over Abatai. Like I said, I'm pretty sure I've said that name. Aitvaras and demonic forces. So for you to have one of these familiars, you can exchange your soul and then be a force for the devil. It's pretty much the same. And once you have a familiar at the cost of your soul, its only duty is get you wealth by ill means, meaning it would probably it takes from your neighbors, like grains, dairy products, things like that. And wild Aitvaras can't be trusted, as usual. So, since the Aitvaras can take form of ordinary household animals, a person might unwillingly bring one into their home. And at that point, it'd be nearly impossible to get rid of. But the only way that they can get out in Christian times is if a person is God-fearing, faithful, and honest. They can bless the house in prayer. Is a way that they can get the albatross out of their home. And also that person has to be living in the home, the same home as the person that brought the albatross into. So how does one require? So an albatross can, just claim a house on their own, but most likely they are, persuaded by someone to protect them and their family. But since in Christian times they were now seen as demons, and you can acquire one by selling your soul. Exchange for your soul. Selling, exchange. So they lived on leftovers, especially they loved omelets. So the carrying of this thing, of the albatross, would just be continued blessings if you, since you fed it and kept good care of it. So in Christian times, I mentioned that, hard to get rid of, but people would provide omelets to them so they wouldn't attack them. It's interesting to see how they... So there's many the descriptions of them change because they're shapeshifters. They can take up many forms. Also, I think you missed my cat. My cat came by. When I wasn't recording, I didn't even notice. So, I have a black kitty. So, black cat, crows. It also, I read that if they live out in barns, it could be a rooster that vomits grain. So you have an endless supply of grain. That I don't know if I'd ever eat grain from a rooster that constantly just puked grain. I don't know about you, but they tend to be black. So black crow, black rooster, black cat, or cockerel. Like I said, if think of Good Mythical Morning, their intro and their cockerel. Think of that would be. So I talked about zaddles, zalties, garden snake, but instead of a tail, it's a fiery tail. And also, if they're seen fly in the sky, it would appear to be a comet, fallen star, something like that. I always find it interesting in these tales what people are trying to explain. Although they can sometimes be used as like a cautionary tale, and mythology was also used to explain natural phenomena. We're almost done, guys. I might have to start over. So in 1547, there was a guy that had acquired wealth seemingly overnight. And the people investigated, and it was discovered that it was an albatross. Now, here's a fun story. So this one is not date on it. It's of a newlywed, and the newlywed wife she would grind up the grain, and she was just the bucket where she was getting the grain was never getting empty. She'd do it, and it just seemed like it was just never getting less full. First of all, I would think I was going crazy. It's just me, right? But she discovered that it was her mother-in-law's. So she lit what kind of candle? A consecrated candle. And she discovered it was an albatross vomiting grain into this bucket constantly. She took the candle, closer to the creature, and it screeched and it rose up into the sky. And it was never to be seen again. And the mother-in-law was so upset with the daughter-in-law that because she exchanged her soul for it, and she was upset that it was gone. And so she was in grief that she lost her familiar. So, that's it. So, that's it for the Aitvaras. Oh gosh, I'm sorry. Aitvaras. Lithuanian Dragon. I don't know which one I'm going to do next. All resources will be linked down below. And that'll be it. Let me know if there's any dragons that you're interested in learning about or want me to talk about. Or just anything in general that you want me to get into. I am going to finish this up next time, and then before next time, because there's not a whole lot here, and I'm going to start on the next stage of this painting. So yeah, I will see you next time, and give this video a thumbs up, and I'll see you. Bye. It's a little. Oh, it's a little. Gosh, you're probably not going to hear this. I was like, told my husband as he was walking in here, and I'm just like, I think like I'm going to try changing my setup this weekend, and I'm just like, I think I'm going to move the laptop. Because this is getting really like disruptive. I don't know how you guys are getting through these videos. Hi, sorry about that. And I just finished another video and just got into this one. Oh Lord, you're what I like to call wandering. My head gets. I can't even follow my own writing. So they're attribute. Gosh. Hi, I can't speak as. Nerdy Crafter says, I can't English today. And also, I've already read this. Talked about it. I feel so stupid not realizing that it happens when once I start talking. And then I stop paying attention to the time.